Now that you're out of it, how is the NIL? Speak on the NIL. How has it been changing the game in college athletics, particularly at a baseball level?
Yeah, it's a disaster. I'm in this weird, again, we all have thoughts that are probably, you dream a little bigger than, I kind of have this weird fantasy or vision of like, okay, can college and MLB merge together a little bit and help each other? And I wouldn't be the main, I certainly shouldn't be the patron of either, but I could connect the right people and get this thing where it's a little more fluid. But the one part MLB can't affect is just where NCAA sports are in general. And it's just a mess. And I would say the biggest, I'm doing this off the cuff, hopefully no one wants to slash my tires, but it's like you're driving in the fog and you can't really see but about 100 or 200 feet in front of you. And, you're grasping for what's real, what you can do, what you can't do. And again, I'm sure someone will throw out that I did something wrong or I didn't do this, but overall, it's very frustrating when you don't know the rules to the game. Mm-hmm. And I hate to keep beating up the topic. Of course, there's judges in UFC or boxing, but I love those two sports because it's two guys locked in one spot, or it could be gals, and just who's better. And that's what I like more about anything. I mean, I almost wish too, like Oregon, you should only be allowed to have a certain amount of uniform combinations. You should only have certain square footage in a locker room. Like, let's find out. That's the whole point of athletics or competition is like, let's find out who can do it better. But when you really don't know what the rules of the game are, or they're so lopsided in favor of Tennessee over Middle Tennessee State, it's kind of hard to have that nose-to-nose competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's the Wild West. There's going to be like a crazy documentary about all the NIL that's taking place. How does it work for baseball players? Like, do baseball players get full scholarships now? Because when we were in school, it was like, baseball was getting like 40%. Like the most you could get is like 50%. That's like, hey, this is a really good baseball player. He's like this percentage. But now NILs come in, so you're paying these guys. But do they have full scholarships? Like, how does it all work?
Yeah,
now?
So to make it overly simple, so they're used to, when I first started coaching, it was 11.7, pretty much for every major program.
11.7. What does that mean?
Scholarships. So if I sit down with you and your family and we love on you all weekend, official visit, you go down on the field for the football game, it'd finish in the office with a here's your scholarship offer. And you try and do your best to make it seem as big as it can be, because it's not. In average, if you do the numbers, 11.7, you'd get to about 43%. So not even half of your cost would be covered. And it's like, we love you, but to come here, you're going to have to pay $20,000 a year, out of state kid, let's say.
Yeah.
It's just awful dealing with that. And then the NIL is actually like, this is in football, this is a mess. But in baseball, it's kind of helping, like, hey, you got no cost. We'll just figure out a way to combine everything. And then we go into the new territory where the rumors became true. And it's like, I'm in the portal. You want me? My first phone call, they said this number. What do you guys got?
Yeah. And
some of those two kids literally walked to my office like, what is it? And I was like, nice to meet you. Are we even, So now
some of these kids are getting so over the top about it, they're not even really introducing themselves. There's no small talk. It's like, what are you willing to offer me to come play at your school?
Yeah. And again, no offense to them or no foul on them. I mean, it's what I keep saying, what you don't know, you don't know. I mean, if their phone call they get from University of whoever is right out of the chute, this is what we're offering you, then that's kind of what his expectations are. And now we're at this new place where we can offer full scholarships at Tennessee. Not every school did that. And I mean, we're talking big time program athletic departments did not boost their scholarships. So you can offer full scholarships if you want as an athletic department, but it's not available. Mm-hmm. And then you got this rev share thing, which is real money, but some don't get any. And then you got NIL, which again is hopefully getting sorted out, but we're still in a very gray place with that.
Yeah. And are you even able to like vet if they're getting this offer outside from another university?
That's a great question.
I'm sure you can eventually, but it's like, coach I was talking to, even with college football, you're not even having real exit meetings to talk about what the player can work on or develop. They're kind of walking in and be like, hey, this is what I'm hearing from my agent. There's really no conversation to be had unless I get X, Y, and Z. And it's kind of the bulk. That is the exit meeting,
which is bad for the development of players.
Yeah.
In the football world, at least, I don't know how it works in baseball, but if you can't coach a guy hard, he's not going to get better at these small things. And you're going to see it in the next couple of years where the level of play on the field is going to get worse because the technique's not as good because the guys aren't getting coached the way they should. They're just getting more and more money because they're naturally talented.
Yeah, I think it's kind of already started that way. To backtrack a little bit, the one thing is and again, no foul play on an agent. If you're an agent, why wouldn't you say, hey, my guy's been offered already kind of between this number, and maybe you make it seem a little better than it is. How are we supposed to know? And the recruiting in the summer goes like that. I mean, it's a whirlwind. So, but I think development, a word that I kept coming up with is sequence. I think there's a sequence that takes place in the development of an athlete. And for some guys, it comes quicker. Some guys, it comes slower. But there's definitely a sequence you have to respect. And I think all respect for that has gone out the window because coaches you got to make a choice. What's your approach? But all of us at some point have tiptoed around something because of the threat of the transfer portal or a guy being disgruntled. And then two, for a player, it's like, it's not going well. It's not going as well as I thought it would, so I'm out. And I thought the coolest thing, and I know I'm fortunate enough to know Peyton because of the university, but when people talked about Arch Manning leaving Texas, one of my favorite individuals I've ever met is Archie Manning. And if you know that family, it's like, that dude ain't going nowhere.
Right.
He's going to see that thing through, and he's going to make it happen. And I followed a little bit. It seems like it's going decent.
Yeah, last couple games.
Last couple weeks for sure has been going.
But I think because of the background of that family, there's a respect for that sequence of development. And at some point, you're going to get knocked down and you're going to have to overcome some challenges. And if you wait till too long in your career, you might not know how to handle it.
Yeah, it'd be very off-brand for Archman to be in the transfer portal. If he went in, I think it'd be a massive shock to anybody if he was going to go somewhere else based off of the adversity that he was having up until these last couple of games. You talked about every coach at some point has kind of tiptoed around some things. What are some examples of you tiptoeing around that you're like, I shouldn't.
Thanks a lot.
Maybe. Well, hey, we're out now. Wait, this is fair game. You don't say names.
Well, I mean, there's one that's pretty well documented. I mean, the thing is, sometimes you find out a guy is leaving. And
you find out via news or a text.
Well, on the recruiting side, you get a phone call, and we had kind of blossomed, and now all eyes are on us. And I think we could have coached a kid that was a superstar, but you get a call, and it's like, hey, this guy's got 7 or 8 SEC offers. What's your guys' offer? And it's like, well, and trust me, I'm no saint, but at the time, it's like, we got too many eyes on us, and people are throwing out, certain things. We didn't move on it at all. But it's so weird because it's like, I just watched this guy on TV. He's playing for a different school and yet shopping these other ones. So there's so many different situations in recruiting that pop up, and that's one. And then with coaching, I had to coach a kid that was really talented that we knew he was out the door. We knew the minute we made kind of a change in role that he was going to be out the door. And we had a short conversation in the locker room, like, what do we want to do? And finally, we made a lot of group decisions. In this particular case, I was just like, this is what we're doing, but he's going to leave. And then knowing that you still have season left, it's kind of like, the firing coaches in the middle of the season in college football. Sometimes it's a different way you get there, but you might still be able to have a successful season if you can just kind of keep things on board. So that was a tough one to deal with.
Yeah, these decisions of all the schools, when you're getting calls from agents being like, hey, we have an offer from this school for this much. What's one school that came up the most? It was like, hey, LSU's got a big baseball pro. They're always kind of offering the most. Like, what school does it seem like to you is like always offering the most?
Well, I think, as far as NIL.
Yeah.
Like, thank goodness. I thought you were talking about me.
No. I'm talking about like you're fighting for a kid.
Yeah, I think there's a few certain ones that seem to be more organized out of the chute. But, you brought up LSU. It's like, it's a religion down there. That culture is so different, and not just in sports, but just in life. It's pretty cool to be around just the vibe. You're not going to go hungry if you're walking around down in Louisiana, and that vibe is sports is life. And then in the state of Texas, it's, everything's bigger. It is true in a lot of different ways. And down there, it's like, who can throw out the bigger wallet or the bigger amount. So, and then there's traditions at other sports too. And there's some quirky niches that are out there. So it honestly, it varied. Now I'm not in college. Maybe I could throw something out there, but it honestly varied where some were really organized out of the chute and then others made adjustments. Oil money's real.
Royals money. Yeah.
And then you guys see it like fan bases are loyal. And I don't, I've been in Columbus, but Ohio, it's a big city, and Ohio State football is it. That's the main deal going on up
they
there.
got all the money in there, don't they?
What are a couple guardrails you'd put up in college baseball with the NIL and the portal?
Whew.
It's like for football, like I don't know the portal windows and stuff in baseball, but in football, I want to say the main one opens up in December, yeah?
It's
Or
like the last, I thought it was the first week of January.
It might be that. I know it's shifted a couple times, but it makes it very hard to where it's like, hey, if we're going to do all of this money stuff and everything else, like just make it a free agency type window.
Let it happen
so that
in
way
March.
These kids, like some of these decisions aren't getting made where if there's still some season left or like right after it's happening.
And there's teams playing in the playoffs that are like focused on the playoffs. Other teams are not making a bowl game, some bowl games.
Yeah, being, with our sport being a spring sport, and this is totally off the cuff, I don't have a stance one way or the other, but some people are in favor of guys being able to transfer and play if you transfer it semester. So right now, somewhere out there in the SEC, there's a kid that's realizing this isn't the place for me. But he's good enough to be in the SEC. Why can't he transfer at December at the end of the semester and be eligible? That creates a big mess, but that's an option out there. And then, moving the portal dates, I don't know that it'd affect our deal too much because so many of these conversations start before they start, So our deal does start, I think in the middle of regionals, and it creates a bit of a mess. And now you're trying to win a regional and, recruit a kid, or a kid's trying to win a regional, but he's already, got one foot out the door. So I think it's kind of nature of the beast. A lot of this stuff starts before it actually happens. And I don't know how you safeguard or put up, rails against that, but that's why there's smarter people than I in higher paid positions.
Yeah.
Would that be like tampering?
Yeah, and that's a word that gets thrown out a lot. I think what the actual definition of that needs to be put out there, and I think, again, someone will say I did this or that, but I think pretty staunch penalties against that would be wise, but there's always back channeling stuff. When agents are involved, and again, they've got a job to do. When agents are involved and they can technically be a middleman or a third party, it throws everything out of whack a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, even in NFL, like there's a tampering period before the free agency period that's like well known. It's like these guys, as soon as like free agency starts, if it's like 2 p.m. on this day, it's like 2:01 p.m. These 10 guys are getting signed to these massive contracts. There's always tomfoolery about.
Sure.
But it's like, that's like the name of the game, right? Like you find the rules and then you exploit the rules with the way they're written to put your team in the best advantage you possibly can.
Yeah, I've tried to say, I mean, with the NCAA in particular, I've seen a bunch of rule changes. And again, I don't know necessarily what's best. You just find out what they are and you try and do your best job. But anytime you make a rule or a law, to me, you should always hire a criminal and say, how are we getting around? If we're going to start a casino, you would want, I think you've had some time at the tables.
Yeah, right. I played a couple hands. Not as a criminal. Fair game every single time.
How do we hire a criminal?
No sunglasses.
You know what he's talking about, right? Yeah, well, actually.
Yeah, but, find out what are the ways around this, and maybe you can prevent it. But there's probably always going to be a gray area. And, I guess, if anything, kudos to people that are aggressive trying to make it happen.
It's such an interesting world. The NIL is just so crazy right now.